Hi everyone. So I am making a new video. I know, it's been forever and I've been asked on my Instagram to make these videos. So I decided I'll make these videos and I'll let my Instagram know for those who want to follow my adoption journey that this is here, and for those who don't, that that's okay too. So this episode is how my son is raising me. And I know that sounds so bad, like that's not his responsibility, blah, blah, blah. I know. You have to remember, I didn't grow up with biology outside of my sisters. I didn't know what my biological parents were actually like until I was an adult. It takes a lot to acknowledge that. Like, I didn't know, my biology. I didn't know my aunts or uncles. I didn't know how, my family was raised. I didn't know my grandparents. I didn't know, their grandparents. I didn't have the generations. I had generations in my adoptive family, but I didn't have the generations of my own biology where I could see myself. Now I have a son, and certain things that I do, he does, and certain things that I was told are bad and that I did because of trauma or because my mom abused me, or like all of these things, which while those are true statements that I was abused and my mom did abuse me, I see my son do things and I wonder how much is biology, how much is autism, how much is neurodiversity versus the abuse aspect that was so highlighted. Your mom abused you and we saved you. And that isn't necessarily the truth. My mom did abuse me and I was put in foster care. My aunt had a reunification plan and the agency actually placed with foster to adopt instead of going with my aunt's reunification plan because, well, they make money off it. Even in kinship care, they don't make money like they would off of a stranger adoption. So that's why that was what it was. My pregnancy came 2 weeks after I found out I was pregnant for sure and confirmed it. 2 weeks after my parents were officially married. They got officially married because my sister had a tournament in Japan, and if something were to happen to either of them in Japan, without a legal certificate of marriage, there would be no way to get the body released back into the US, especially because the children are not biological. One parent had a biological child, but the rest of the other one did not. And the other one had no living family, except for an aunt that probably wouldn't have answered the phone if my other adoptive parent had called. So they actually officially got married about 2 weeks before I found out that I was pregnant with my son. I texted them while they were in Japan to let them know the news. I'm pregnant, I'm having a baby, I'm excited. And my abusive parent, adoptive parent's first response was, "You're not responsible enough for this. Abort him. Abort it. Like, don't have this baby. You're not responsible enough. You're not prepared enough. You're never going to be a good mother. Get rid of it." And my response was, no. Like, I planned this baby. I went off birth control for this baby. Like, I chose to have this baby. What? No. Just no. So that ended our relationship effectively for 7 months. At the 8-month mark, I was very hormonal and I wanted that family connection so bad that I didn't have, that I chose to reunite that relationship, try to make it work, and do the things that I thought like I'm supposed to do when I'm pregnant, like have a baby shower and gender reveal and those things, because it was my first baby that I wanted to do. But my baby shower was supposed to be planned by my best friend, and my mom completely took over, disregarded my best friend, and really drove a wedge between us, triangulated that to the point that when my best friend and I ended up no longer being best friends, she went directly to my abusive parent and was like, "Your daughter's crazy, blah, blah, blah," which is stupid because, like, she got close to an abuser who abused narcissistically and then got sucked into the triangulation of it and then ended our friendship because of that abusive person. make it make sense. In the end, I lost my mom, my abusive mom, which is fine, but it still hurts, and my best friend within the first year of my son's life. So at 8 months, I reunited that. When I gave birth to my son, I asked for no pictures, no videos. I wanted one parent in the room, which was not my abusive parent, and one of my sisters in the room, but it ended up being 3 of my sisters, both of my parents, overwhelming as shit, and I wanted everybody out, and nobody would listen to me, nobody would kick them out. And to top it all off, my abusive parent brought her professional camera and took pictures of the whole thing, even though I had specifically stated no pictures. The nurses weren't enforcing it. The doctors weren't enforcing it. I had an epidural, so I couldn't get up and enforce it. My ex-husband was not enforcing it. He did ask her to stop, but he wasn't about to resort to physical violence to get her to stop, and that was the only thing that would have ended that. But it was like my body was not my own at this point, and I continued to say, stop taking pictures of me, and she did not. To add insult to injury, she waited about 3 months and then sent me the pictures of the birth that she took against my will, and that sent me into a full-blown panic attack, and I had postpartum anxiety, so that was not great, not helpful, terrible experience. And yet I continued to try to grow that relationship so that my son would have a grandmother in his life. At this point, I did not think that their marriage would end. I did not think that I would be able to have a relationship with my non-abusive parent without the abusive parent being in the picture, because it didn't look like that was ever gonna end, whether just from convenience or there was something still holding them together, and I still don't know quite what it was, but they are no longer together. But that didn't happen until years later. So at 3 months old, I went to an event where I was selling self-defense items. I did that for about 2 years. I loved it. But I went to this event and I didn't want my son out in the hot sun in July in California. So I took him to my mom's house and I requested that either my sister or my non-abusive parent were in the room. And at this point, our relationship's really rocky, given the pictures, given everything. Mine and my abusive parents' relationship is back to being super rocky. I don't want to talk to her. I want nothing to do with her. I don't want my son alone with her. So I request that my sister or my non-abusive parent be in the room at all times. Thank God I did that, because my non-abusive parent went out to take a phone call and my sister was in the room, and my abusive parent put my son in winter clothes in July in California, and then sent me a picture and said, wow, he looks so sad, as if he wasn't broiling. And my sister messaged me and said, I'm gonna come pick you up, pack your shit up, I'll be there in 10 minutes to get you. My sister came, my sister got me, my sister brought me home. I stripped. As soon as I got there, I stripped him out of everything. When I tell you this kid was drenched in sweat, I mean drenched in sweat. This woman tried to abort my child 3 months after he was fucking born by broiling him. Make it make sense. Like, make it make sense again. And this led to a yelling, screaming fight where she was like, how dare you not trust me? Babies need socks and hats at all times. There's just too much energy in the atmosphere for them. They can't handle it. He was crying. He was this, he was that. And I looked at her and I said, shut the fuck up. Ansley had seizures. My sister had seizures as a baby. And when I look back at pictures of her in the summer, she has winter clothes on. I cannot regulate my own temperature. How am I going to expect my 3-month-old to regulate his temperature if you're doing this to him as well? No, you are not to be alone with my son ever again. No, the answer is no. I took my son and I left. I went home, livid, called my ex-husband, told him what happened. He was like, oh shit, we need to take a break. Did not talk to any of my family for 2 months. In September, my grandparents that are chosen family of my adoptive family, so like by no way related to me, that my child is named after that grandfather. They called me. They were like, hey, we haven't seen you since the baby was born. We're doing dinner at your mom's house. Do you want to come? And I was like, why isn't my mom inviting me? And they said, well, they said you're not answering the phone. And I said, I'm not really talking to them right now. This is what happened. And they were like, well, let's do this dinner and work on some forgiveness stuff because I feel like it's a miscommunication. And my dumbass wanting that connection, wanting that truth, wanting to be a part of this family that was supposed to be my forever family, I went back. This time, I brought my ex-husband, his 2 girls, my son, and I was in the room with my son the whole time. I never let him be by himself. I warned my ex-husband, do not let the girls be by themselves. But mind you, they were 7 and 9. They're old enough to tell us what's happening if they are uncomfortable. So my 7-year-old comes up to me and says, hey, abusive parent is making me eat all of this food. Mind you, I had put the food on her plate. We had 2 rules. If you put the food on your plate and you know you like it, then you have to eat it all. If you don't know that you like it, then I put the food on your plate and you have to take 1 bite and then a no thank you bite. So 2 bites total. 1 is like just so you don't just try it and blah, right? 1 bite and then a no thank you bite. Make sure you don't like it. If you do like it, you eat it. If you don't, you don't have to. I had made her plate because it was food that she hadn't necessarily had before. She had put the condiments on her hamburger, but ended up just eating the patty and not the bread. All that was left on her plate was the bread, okay? Like that's it. My abusive parent put a timer on a 7-year-old and told her that if she did not finish in that 2-minute time frame, then she was not gonna get dessert. I picked up the plate and she was like, well, it's up to you, honestly. Like, you're the parent. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, first of all, you've asked my stepkids to call me mom when they have a very involved mom. No, they will call me what they want to call me. 2, you have put a timer on a 7-year-old girl eating. No, we are leaving. I threw the plate in the trash with the stuff on it, and I grabbed my ex-husband, I grabbed my son who's with my grandpa. I told him, we're leaving right now. And the other stepdaughter did not eat at all. She had not eaten, she did not like anything there. So we get in the car, we're driving past In-N-Out, and I say, who's hungry? They're like, we're hungry. Everyone's hungry. We stopped, we got In-N-Out, we had a family dinner together in the car, much better situation, much happier. We processed everything that happened. I'm sobbing because now my adoptive family has hurt my chosen family, my stepkids. I'm wrecked. I can't do it anymore. And I cut contact again. I only broke contact twice in the next 1.5 years. Once was out of respect because my youngest sibling was still a minor. And so I called my adoptive mom, told her that I had found my biological brothers and that they were coming into town, that I was going to meet them, that one of my other siblings was going to meet them, and that if my youngest sibling wanted to meet them, she could. My adoptive mom said, absolutely not, called them and told them to turn around. They lived in Washington. They were already in Oregon driving. So Washington, Oregon, California. They were literally crossing from Oregon to California. They called me and they're like, is this gonna be a problem? And I was like, if she calls you, just block her number. Like, if she calls you again, just block her number. Come to my house, you stay at my house. My husband knows you're coming. She has no power over me. I would love to meet you. Anybody else, that's gonna be up to them, whatever. They end up staying in an Airbnb because they were like, we don't want to impose on your family, but so they end up staying in an Airbnb. We end up hanging out. My other sister ends up hanging out with them a lot. And my youngest sister, who, mind you, she was 3 months away from being an adult, decided that she wanted to meet them and made that happen on her own, quote, accidentally. I don't know the details of that. I was not there when that happened, but that was one of the big breaking points for me when I started to see that it wasn't about my biological mom or my biological father or what had happened to me. It was about the biology. She did not want us to love where we came from, to love our siblings, to love our biology unless we were raised together. And even then, because I said no, because I stood up, because I was strong, because I set boundaries from the age of 6, I was the bad guy. I know that a lot of this is just giving you background on how the relationship became so rocky with my biological parent and myself, but I'm giving you this time frame from the beginning of my pregnancy until the age of 2, my son's age of 2. Then I'll go into what happened between the ages of 2 and now 4, where he is now. So that's kind of like what's happening. So that happened when my son was about 6 months old. And then when my son was about a year old, I had asked for my family dog, Buddy. At this point, it has become evident that they are going to, at minimum, separate. She had raised her hand to strike one of my siblings who was an adult, and my other sibling caught her hand and told her, "You're no longer welcome here," and walked her out of the house. At this point, it was the breaking point. 1, there's witnesses. 2, she's assaulting grown-ass adults. 3, she's acting like she has ownership over us as adults. And 4, now my other adoptive parent has witnessed the abuse, and it brings back the memories and breaks that amnesia wall she had from when she had a stroke when I was nearly a teenager, when I was a preteen, and what had led up to that. And she remembered it, but she kept being told that she was crazy and that it never happened and all of this. So she just kind of dropped it until we, the children, started confirming that, yes, her wife is physically abusive. Yes, her wife is sexually abusive. Yes, her wife was abusing us our entire lives and continued to abuse us after we became adults. That conversation happened, and then eventually they separated. At 2 years old, my son saw his dad pick me up in a chair and throw me. He watched it happen, and that was the end for me of that relationship. I started saving and I moved out. At 2.5, so it took me about 6 months to save, to move, to get my life in order, but I did, and I moved out. As soon as I moved out, I started making the hard choices, the choices that I needed to have been making from the beginning, the choices for my mental health. I got a therapist. I started working through things. I worked with BetterHelp. BetterHelp, I super recommend them. So good. Got me back on my feet. Absolutely worth it. If you're low income, they work with you, and they actually have like state and federally funded programs, so they actually will like charge you less per month. Also, you pay per month, not per visit. So if you pay per month and then you have a really shitty month and you talk to your therapist over text or over FaceTime every single day that month, that's still covered in whatever that block fee is. So if you're paying like 108, say 110, whatever, you're paying 110 and you talk to your therapist for an hour every single day that month, it's still only $110. So I highly recommend them. That was a sidewall, like a little side note. Sorry, my nose is running really bad right now. Of course it is. I put on makeup for a video, and here we go, my nose is running. So I made choices. I made choices on where I was gonna work, what kind of friends I was gonna have, and what parenting style I was personally going to use. And I started using gentle parenting and nonviolent parenting. A combination of the two. They're not the same. Nonviolent parenting is we don't smack and we don't scream. That's really it. And gentle parenting is getting on your kid's level and almost to the point of friendship. Now, my son will tell you that we are best friends. We are best friends, but he also knows I'm mommy and he doesn't get to treat me badly. He doesn't get to treat anybody badly. Like, I'm a human, he's a human. We don't treat other humans badly, right? But that is besides the point. So the first choice I made was that I was never gonna make my son worry about me, but I also was gonna be completely honest about where I was at with my son. So if I was crying and my son came up to me and said, "Why are you crying?" I would say, "Mommy's really sad right now. Mommy's processing emotions." And I would demonstrate that to the point where he'll be crying and say, "I'm just sad because you said. I'm just sad because you did," right? So complete and utter honesty, but in a way that never made him feel responsible for my feelings or emotions, because no child is responsible for their parents' feelings and emotions. But being honest with your feelings and emotions can teach your child, especially boys, how to show their emotions without making it somebody else's fault, if that makes sense. I chose a combination of gentle parenting and nonviolent parenting. I don't spank my kid. I do my damnedest not to yell at him. Don't always succeed in that one. That's a lot of unlearning for me because I was yelled at my whole life. That's just like my go-to when I get frustrated. It's just I get really loud. And so I've had to retrain myself, and I still feel at that sometimes. The gentle parenting part is when my son is having big emotions, I get at his level. I get down with him. Hey, what is this big emotion? Sit up, talk to me. I'm right here. I'm listening. I'm here for you. Those are things he knows. I also started an affirmations routine. I tell him his affirmations multiple times a day. I root him into his identity inherently as a human. He's strong. He's smart. He's brave. He's powerful. He's powerful words. Good heart. Good soul. Kind mind. Power, you give your kids power with the words you feed into them. So that was another choice I made and continue to make every single day. I started noticing that my son does have neurodivergent traits. Bubby, hey, can you hold out just a little bit more?
What?
Shh, hold out a little bit more, okay?
Gonna take it off?
Yeah, about 5 more minutes. Can you do quiet for 5 more minutes? Great job.
It keeps slipping off.
Oh no, push it closer. Close it. It's too big for your head. You just gotta close it a little more. I'll fix it in just a minute, okay? I started noticing that my child's default response to being corrected was anger. Anger in screaming, anger in hitting, anger in biting. He's about 2.5, so it's pretty normal. But I also noticed that I had potty trained my son by 18 months and that he was no longer potty trained. And every time he came back from his dad's, he was in diapers. Great job. I'm proud of you. Where at my house, he was only sleeping in diapers. So that was a huge red flag, like what's going on here? And I found out that his mom didn't like taking him to the bathroom because he couldn't communicate it in words. So I started working on words. Now, my son did at the time clearly communicate he needed to go to the bathroom. What he would do is he would stand by the potty. You just had to be aware of where he was at. His mom didn't want to do that. His mom didn't want to give up that part of her life, but also didn't want him to take the baby to daycare. So my ex's mom basically unpotty trained my kid by not listening when he was using nonverbal communication. So I re-potty trained him and I started working on communicating, how you're feeling, how he was processing things, what the feelings were, what he needed. And I basically did that by narrating my life as I did that. I'm gonna go potty. Mommy's going pee-pee. Mommy's going poo-poo. Mommy's taking a shower. Mommy's washing her hair. mommy's washing Bubba's hair. Like, all of those little things were things that I just started communicating and narrating in my life until he got it. And out of nowhere, boom, here come the words. Here comes the waterfall of just understanding words, communication. And it was like he went from not talking at all to speaking full paragraphs overnight almost. I made sure that when he was scared or sad, that was acknowledged and that his needs were met, even if that made me uncomfortable. On my parenting time, I will make an extra effort. If he says, I miss my dad or I want to see my dad, I make sure to communicate that to his dad and make a time where even if it's my parenting time, he gets to see us together and see that we don't hate each other. And it has blossomed into a really beautiful co-parenting situation. I taught sharing by sharing. I taught kindness by showing kindness in front of him. I taught respect by giving him respect. I taught body autonomy by giving him body autonomy. I taught having your needs met by meeting my own needs as I met his needs. I taught healthy food by giving him lots of options and letting him choose. I taught him words by using my words. I taught safety by using my words and actions. To this day, we play red light, green light in every single parking lot. If I'm too far away from him, he will yell, "Mommy, red light," and I will stop and wait for him to catch up. If he wants me to go faster, "Mommy, green light, let's go." If he's going towards the street and I see a car coming or just going towards the street and I'm too far away to walk with him, "Bubba, red light till mommy catches up," right? Those things, those communications are so good and so powerful because they work everywhere. Everyone understands the game red light, green light. So if my son is too far ahead of me and I yell, "Hey, Bubba, red light till mommy catches up," he's gonna automatically know that means stop until mommy catches up. Safety as far as stranger danger, I didn't teach him so much stranger danger because that's so rare. I did teach him you don't go with people you don't know. But I also taught him you have safe people you can go with and nobody else. You can go in a car with mommy, daddy. The list is like 10 people long. That's it. That's the only people he's allowed to go with and he knows it. If anybody else tries to take him, from the time he was 3, he knew how to say, "Fuck you, fuck off, hell no, you're not my mom, you're not my dad, my mom's name is blank, my dad's name is blank, my Nana's name is blank, my pappy's name is blank," and he knows who he's allowed to go with and who he's not allowed to go with. And that's really important because a lot of kids are taken by family, friends, neighbors, things like that, and the parents aren't aware. But that's 97% of abductions and 97% of sex crimes against children. So I taught my son all the things I was never taught. I didn't teach him to be polite and kind and good to strangers. If a stranger grabs him, he's going to say, "Fuck off." He knows who he's allowed to go with and who he's not allowed to go with. And that's really important to me. And so when I say my son raised me, I altered who I am. I changed who I am. I grew, I learned, I unlearned so that I could show the world what a decent human being can be. And while that decent human being might not always be me, my son is going to be a decent human being because of the way he's raised. And I'll show you. Hey, Gabe, can you pause it and come here for a second? Gabe, Gabriel, can you pause it and come here for a second?
Is this the one?
Yeah, can you pause it and then come here for a second? Hit, yeah, great.
The pot?
Yeah, and then as soon as we're done here, we'll be done there. Do you want to be on the picture? Okay. Can you tell mommy what you're feeling right now? What are you feeling? You're feeling sad about something? Are you feeling happy about something?
I'm sad about the headphones.
You're feeling sad about the headphones?
Okay.
Okay. About the Lego or Drago? You still miss that toy, huh? I'm really sorry, baby.
The Bakugan one?
Yeah, the Bakugan. I'm really sorry, baby. You left it at a park and we didn't notice until we were almost home, and that park is really far away from us.
We can join you back there.
We can't. It's too far. I'm sorry.
We can walk there.
We can't. We definitely can't walk there if we can't drive there. And it's probably gone by now. It's been a whole year, dude. I'm sorry, baby. Hey, is there a better way you can express your anger than punching the floor? Hey, can you find a better way to say that? I'm mad because...
Because I'm mad.
You're mad because you're mad?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, can I hug you? Will it make you feel better?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, come on, sit up and I'll give you huggies. All right. Ooh. Okay, and I'll give you sensory tickles and turn off your headphones, okay?
Mm-hmm. And you turn my TV up.
Yes, sir.
What's the tickles?
Sensory tickles? All right.